400,000 years ago, a massive ice cap locked water into the poles and spread a ferocious, freezing climate across Europe and Asia. Survival meant navigating a barren, unpredictable landscape where extreme weather constantly threatened to wipe out entire populations. In this brutal environment, older hominid species like Homo erectus and Neanderthals were physically optimized for the cold. They possessed heavy bone structures and the hunting skills required to dominate the tundra. By comparison, our direct ancestors, Homo sapiens, possessed a slender, delicate cranial structure. Arriving from Africa, they lacked dense muscle mass and had almost no natural hair to protect against the biting cold. Yet when intense climate shifts starved the landscape and collapsed local food chains, the physically superior species vanished entirely. The robust hunters died out, leaving only the fragile underdogs. Sapiens survived because of an internal adaptation. They didn't grow thicker skin or sharper teeth. Instead, their brains developed a new architecture, giving them a different way to process reality. When the entire planet turns hostile, physical dominance can become a liability due to its high caloric cost. The survival of Homo sapiens showed that a high-functioning mind capable of adapting to shifting conditions outlasts brute strength. For an older species like Homo erectus, life existed strictly in the present tense. If a hunter died on the trail, it simply meant their breath had left them and they stopped moving. The clan would leave the body to the animals and keep walking. Homo sapiens developed a brain capable of holding on to the past and projecting into the future. They invented words for time and began experiencing vivid dreams, constructing a parallel world situated behind their eyes. We see this new mental capacity physically manifested in this excavated skeleton. Rather than abandoning their dead to scavengers, early sapiens began placing them into the earth. The deliberate positioning of the arms and legs inside the grave reveals a specific intent. They were protecting the body, acting on a new belief that their loved ones were transitioning into a spirit world where they would need rest. Creating the concept of an afterlife provided profound comfort to a species surrounded by death. This capacity for faith gave these fragile clans the psychological endurance to process deep grief and keep moving forward into unknown territories. As sapiens migrated into the frigid landscapes of Europe, they fractured into small, isolated groups. These low numbers presented a severe genetic risk of inbreeding, and whenever strangers crossed paths, fear often triggered violent conflict. To bridge this divide, sapiens began using the walls of ancient caves as a communication network. These elaborate drawings of horned bulls and wild game functioned as humanity's first universal signaling system. These overlapping hand stencils were markers of identity. When a wandering clan entered a cave, they could instantly recognize the presence of other humans and the shared emotions left on the wall, even if they didn't speak the same dialect. This shared visual language allowed potentially hostile groups to find common ground and form alliances. In the safety of these caves, clans who could now trust one another began trading survival secrets, from refined hunting tactics to the medicinal properties of local roots. Art acted as an evolutionary survival mechanism that connected isolated, vulnerable bands of humans into a widespread network. This cooperation allowed our ancestors to survive the harshest winters. Eventually, this imagination shifted toward the physical landscape. Sapiens began looking at raw nature and visualizing how it could be manipulated to serve their future needs. When they noticed that a dropped grain of wild wheat sprouted into a new plant, they recognized a causal link. They realized they could deliberately plant seeds to guarantee a reliable food supply months in advance. They applied this same foresight to their predators. Recognizing an opportunity for cooperation, humans formed an alliance with the wolf, ultimately transforming a fierce carnivore into a loyal companion. With crops in the ground and animals tamed, the need to constantly roam after migrating herds vanished. As we see in the ruins of this prehistoric dwelling, humans began stacking dry stone walls, partitioning rooms, and settling down permanently. By picturing a reality distinct from the one they were born into, Homo sapiens transitioned from merely reacting to the dictates of nature to actively engineering it. 12,000 years ago, the global temperature rose. As the polar ice caps melted and the Earth became lush and fertile, humanity used its engineering skills to expand rapidly. Looking down at these excavated brick walls in the desert, we see the transition from small stone huts to sprawling civilizations, capable of massive public architecture and complex trade. Every single one of the 6 billion people populating the Earth today belongs to this same family tree, running on the identical cognitive architecture that kept those early wanderers alive. Brute force and sharp weapons were never the deciding factors in our survival. Instead, our history was defined by the capacity to dream of a better future and the cooperation required to build it.